and happy Thursday to you. Now, you'll see I did not come live today. My daughter is in show choir, and this weekend they are going to be doing their competition at Disney World. So we were going to be at Disney World, and Thursday at 2 o'clock just did not work for all the things that have to happen before we go. So I am recording this early. So let's talk about how to do hard things. Okay. So, I asked you guys, what are some of the hard things that come up for you, right? So, and I had mentioned taxes, right? Someone else said, yeah, taxes, meal planning, phone calls. How about skipping dessert when you're not hungry, right? How about going ahead and putting the lid on the jar of nuts and putting the nuts away? What about, choosing to put some chips in a bowl instead of bringing the entire bag and eating from the bag, right? There are things health-wise, getting up and exercising. There's a lot of different things that we think of as hard, and different people and think of them in different ways as hard, and think of different things as hard, right? Someone else may be like, what do you mean you can't get up and exercise? I exercise every day. Someone else may be like, if I'm not hungry, why would I eat anything? Right? Someone may be like, a phone call is just picking up the phone and dialing the number. Or it used to be. Now it's just dialing the number and hitting send, right? You know, only eating a serving worth of potato chips, putting them in a bowl instead of eating out of the bag. Or why wouldn't I eat them out of the bag? Because I stop when I'm done eating, when I'm done being hungry, right? So there's all kinds of things that we do and we think of as hard things to do. So let's kind of think about, why do we consider those hard? A lot of times it's because of something that we've done in the past, and in the process of doing it, we considered it hard. And oftentimes it was from our first experience doing it that we end up considering it a hard or difficult thing to do. When actually, now that you've done it one time, then you can start to understand and think about the second time you'll be better at it. You'll be more efficient at it because you've done it. Instead, we often just keep thinking about how hard it was the first time we did something. So that's a lot of, kind of where the thought of it comes from. The other thoughts that kind of happen are the ones of, I don't want to do it, right? It's going to take too long. I can't do it, or I'm not going to do it well enough, good enough. I'm going to fail at it. Just kind of some of those thoughts pop up as well, right? Not having enough time, not having enough skill, not having enough experience, or just not wanting to. So here's kind of how we start to look at that and choose to decide what to do. Because a lot of these things are stuff we have to do, or we think we have to do. And so let's kind of think of that. Do you have to do taxes? No, there are lots of people who do not do their taxes. So it's not a have to for them, right? But we do our taxes because we don't want the IRS to come and audit us and ask why we didn't do our taxes and ask us for money. So there's a reason to do our taxes, right? We may not want to make a phone call, but if we don't call and get an appointment, then we're not going to get into the doctor and have whatever we need checked, right? If we don't make a phone call, then we're not going to cancel that subscription, and the thing, it's going to keep billing us, type of thing, right? If we don't plan the meals, then we're going to be rushed at dinner time when we have no idea what we're going to make. So just kind of thinking about that we're choosing to do these tasks that we think are hard because there's a benefit to us to doing them. There's a reason we want to do them, right? So just kind of think about, why am I even wanting to do this task? And the second thing you can do is ask yourself why we think it's hard. It's like, what about the taxes is what's getting you stuck? What about taxes is hard? What about meal planning takes too much time? What about putting the chips away or walking past a dessert is something you don't want to do? Why is the phone call too hard? Right? So I mean, just kind of looking at what you're saying about the task that you think is hard or difficult, and asking, what's the benefit of me doing this task and getting it done, and also why am I thinking that it's difficult or hard? Because that will then kind of take you back to your previous experience, and it's like, what was hard about it? What are the actual steps, and where is that someplace where I get stuck, where it's hard for me? The next, that's kind of the other thing is, have I completed this before? And if I've completed it before, then I know how to do it. So where in that is the holdup? And then the final one that you can ask yourself, which really kind of blows your mind, is to ask yourself, how is this task easy? Because then you can start to go, oh, well, maybe there are easy parts about it. So what's the easy part about taxes? Oh, well, it's just, for me, putting numbers in a spreadsheet. Not as hard as I'm making it out to be. For some people, it's printing out the receipts, especially if you take them to a tax professional to do. So what's hard about printing off receipts? So you can kind of ask yourself that. For making a phone call. A phone call is punching in some numbers and hitting send. So when you think about it that way, is that hard to do that? So start to think about, how is this task easy? Meal planning is writing down or thinking about, what am I going to eat each day this week? So, is that a hard thing to do, to write down a list of things? Interesting to think about, oh, is this task hard or is it easy? And what are the easy parts? Because that helps you to get started when you understand the easy parts about the task. Okay, so let me kind of go through that again. You're going to look for, what is the benefit to doing this task? Why do I even want to do this task? Because obviously I'm wanting to do it. I'm probably even, I have to, but I actually want to do it. And why? Why is that? Second thing is to ask, why do I think it's hard or difficult? Another thing is, have I completed this before? And then the fourth thing is, how is this task easy? So there are kind of 4 questions to ask yourself. Now, we kind of went through that, but the easiest way to make a task we think is hard easy is to just do the task, because once you get started, you'll just continue until you're finished. So it does become easier because you start. So that's the first thing you can do, is start. If you are too stuck and you can't get out of the stuckness of it, then ask those questions, the 4 questions: benefit, why it's hard, if I've done it before, and then what about it is easy. And then let me kind of go into some thoughts, because I know some of you had mentioned a couple different things, right? So taxes. So quick tip about taxes, break it down. What's that easy part, right? Is it the first step to look at last year's taxes and go, oh, what's in my tax folder that I did last year? I have certain things that I printed off and used last year for my taxes. So if I can look at that and know which ones to print off, then I can go back in, find those receipts, and print the same things off, right? Make that part easy. Just get started. Next thing, talking about, meal planning, right? Do what you know, right? So in meal planning, there's already stuff that you already use. So if you're thinking about what are like the typical meals that I make every week, right? There's probably certain ones that you make, as well as which ones are very quick and easy to make. So if you have that list and you just write it down, and whenever you go to meal plan, you have that list, then you already have a list of things you can use, right? It's like, oh, and then you can have kind of a list of things that you use more summer versus more in the fall and winter time, right? And it's like, so, typically I have chicken meal, I have a pork meal, I have a beef meal, I have a fish meal, I have a vegetarian meal, whatever that is. If you start with like, here's the protein and the types of meals I typically have. So then when you go to plan, then you can look at that list and stick those in. And then there's less that you have to think about. Also think about with meal planning, is it really important to plan every meal, or do you just need to plan dinner? Simplify it, take it down into what is actually the necessary things that you need to think about. If it's just dinner that you're worried about, or dinner that's the problem, then just think about dinner. What are those dinners I typically have? Okay. And then thinking about phone calls. So phone calls, yes, it's sometimes you just think, there's a couple different things, right? You're either going to be on the phone a long time because you're going to be in a queue, or, you just don't know what to say. Okay. So in the queue right now, if you get on a lot of things, they actually put you in the queue and you put in your phone number and they call you back. So you can go and do other things while you're waiting for that phone call back, as long as and it usually gives you a time. If you will still be available in a half hour, then put your phone number in a half hour, they'll call you back type of thing, right? Or 50 minutes or however long that is. In terms of what do I say on the phone to help you, to ease you in to just dialing the number, right? Maybe just write out a script real quick. What is it you're actually calling about? I need to make an appointment, or I need to ask about this, or I need to cancel this subscription, or it doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be, and you don't need to make excuses for anything, right? It doesn't matter if that receptionist likes you or not. And she doesn't care if she likes you or not either. She just wants to know what you need, right? So call in and give the information you need. If you need to write it down beforehand, that may make it easier to remind yourself. A lot of times, especially if you have anxiety or something around phone calls, if you have it written down, you know what you gotta say, all you gotta do is read it when you're on the phone, and then the conversation can go from there in terms of what do you actually need, or what the person needs from you about what you're calling about. Okay, of course, can be different if you're calling family about something, but we can talk about that relationships on a different time. Anyway, so I hope those quick tips helped in terms of meal planning, taxes, and phone calls. If you have any other questions about those things, then hop on, send me a message, send me an email, just let me know what it is you're struggling with about those certain things. And we can even get on, like I have a quick 15-minute call thing where we can get on and we can kind of talk about a couple of things and kind of see what is actually causing your struggles. and then I can help and then also provide content, provide information to share with everyone else. Because if you're struggling with something, I can guarantee other people are struggling with the same thing. We're not unique in how we're thinking about things. And we've all had unique experiences, but we all kind of start to think about things in similar ways. It may be, 4 different ways that someone thinks that different people think about things, but those are common amongst people who have had certain experiences. So, let me know if there's something that you need help with. So I hope everyone has a beautiful, wonderful Thursday, and I will talk to you again next Thursday. Bye.